The Underdog Strain. Chapter 1, The Scrappy Contender. The roar of the crowd was deafening. It wasn't the high-pitched squeals of the upper levels of the Galactic Arena, where the rich and powerful watched from their luxury boxes. No, this was the guttural, primal roar of the pits, the underground fighting circuit where desperation and broken dreams fueled the spectacle. The air was thick with the stench of stale sweat and cheap alien booze, the floor slick with spilled drinks and the occasional splatter of blood. Niko Petrov, sweat stinging his eyes, pushed his way through the throng of spectators. He ignored the jeers and taunts thrown his way. Human trash, earthling weakling. They were nothing new. His knuckles throbbed, still bruised from his latest loss against a hulking Barzak, its genetically enhanced muscles rippling beneath its leathery skin. He found old man Sergei in their usual corner, hunched over a battered datapad, his brow furrowed in concentration. "How bad is it?" Niko asked, his voice hoarse. Sergei looked up, his eyes tired but sympathetic. "Not as bad as it could have been, kid. You lasted longer than most against that brute." Niko scoffed. 2 minutes, that's hardly a victory. "It's more than most humans manage," Sergei countered. He tapped the datapad. "But the odds are getting worse. These genetic mods are getting out of hand." Niko leaned against the grimy wall, his gaze drifting to the center of the pit, where another match was about to begin. 2 aliens, their bodies shimmering with bioluminescent markings, circled each other, their claws extended. "We're becoming a sideshow, Sergei," Niko said bitterly. "A spectacle for the galaxy to laugh at." Sergei grunted in agreement. "That's what they want, kid, to keep us down, to remind us of our place." Niko slammed his fist against the wall, the sound echoing through the empty corridor. "I'm tired of being the underdog, Sergei. Tired of being treated like a second-class citizen." A soft voice cut through the tension. "Then perhaps it's time to change the narrative." Niko and Sergei turned to see a woman standing in the shadows, her features obscured by the dim light. She wore a long, flowing coat, and her eyes gleamed with an intelligence that sent a shiver down Niko's spine. "Who are you?" Sergei demanded, his hand instinctively reaching for the Stun's pistol holstered at his hip. The woman stepped forward, her face illuminated by a flickering hololamp. She was young, with sharp features and a determined set to her jaw. "My name is Anya Petrova," she said. "I'm a geneticist." Niko and Sergei exchanged a puzzled look. "A geneticist?" Niko echoed. "What do you want with a washed-up fighter like me?" Anya's lips curled into a sly smile. "I believe you have the potential to be much more than washed up, Niko. I've been studying human DNA, and I think I've found something that could change everything." Chapter 2, Unleashing the Underdog Strain. The dimly lit lab hummed with the low thrum of advanced machinery. Niko sat across from Anya, a holographic projection of his genetic code swirling between them. The complex strands of DNA danced like a cosmic ballet, each sequence a whispered secret of his ancestry. "This," Anya said, her finger tracing a glowing marker, "is the Underdog Strain." Niko leaned forward, his eyes widening. "What does it mean?" Anya's voice resonated with a quiet passion. "It means you possess a latent potential, Niko, a dormant power hidden within your genes." "Power?" Niko scoffed. "What kind of power could a human like me possibly have?" Anya's smile was warm, reassuring, the kind that could change everything, enhance strength, speed, reflexes, even heightened intuition and awareness. Niko felt a surge of excitement mingle with disbelief. "You're saying I could actually compete with the aliens?" "Not just compete," Anya said, her eyes locking with his. "You could dominate them." The training that followed was grueling. Anya pushed Niko beyond his limits, forcing him to confront his fears and insecurities. He sparred against holographic opponents, ran through obstacle courses designed to test his reflexes, and meditated to sharpen his focus. "Pain is just a signal, Niko," Anya would say as he gasped for breath, muscles burning. "Learn to listen to it, but don't let it control you." Gradually, Niko began to notice changes. His punches hit harder, his movements became more fluid, and his instincts sharpened. He felt a new confidence growing within him, a fire fueled by the belief that he was capable of greatness. Months turned into years. Niko, now known in the underground circuit as the Phoenix, became a force to be reckoned with. He fought with a ferocity and determination that captivated the crowds. his victories becoming the stuff of legend. Humans flocked to his matches, their cheers echoing through the grimy arenas, their spirits lifted by the sight of one of their own defying the odds. "He's a natural," a grizzled spectator muttered, watching Niko dismantle a hulking Draken warrior with a series of lightning-fast strikes. "Natural? Ha!" another scoffed. "He's obviously enhanced. No human could move like that." "Doesn't matter," a third chimed in. "He's ours. He's showing those alien bastards what we're made of." The rumors of Niko's superhuman abilities reached the ears of the Galactic MMA Council. Their agents began to appear at his matches, their cold eyes watching his every move. One evening, after a particularly decisive victory, Anya pulled Niko aside. "They're on to us," she said, her voice grim. "The council knows about your enhancements." Niko's jaw clenched. "Let them come. I'm not afraid of them." Anya placed a hand on his arm. "This is bigger than just you, Niko. This is about the future of humanity. We have to be smart." Niko nodded, the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He was no longer just a fighter. He was a symbol of hope for a species that had been cast aside. The fight had just begun. Chapter 3: Trials of the Natural. The lights of the galactic arena were a blinding spectacle, a galaxy of stars compressed into a single point of focus. Niko stood at the mouth of the tunnel, the roar of the crowd washing over him like a tidal wave. He could feel the energy thrumming through his veins, the underdog strain humming beneath his skin. This was his stage, his chance to show the galaxy what a human was capable of. His first opponent was a hulking Grondak, a six-limbed behemoth with razor-sharp claws and a reputation for tearing his opponents limb from limb. The crowd erupted as the Grondak charged, its roars echoing through the arena. Niko, however, moved with a grace and speed that belied his human form. He ducked and weaved, his movements almost preternatural, as he landed a series of precise strikes to the Grondak's vulnerable points. The crowd's cheers turned to gasps of astonishment as the Grondak stumbled, then collapsed, defeated by a mere human. Niko's next opponent was a sleek, serpentine Naja, its body shimmering with bioluminescent scales. The Naja was a master of poison and deception, its strikes swift and venomous. Niko, however, had developed a heightened sense of awareness, his instincts honed by Anya's training. He anticipated the Naja's every move, his reflexes lightning fast as he countered its attacks and delivered a bone-jarring kick that sent the creature reeling. With each victory, Niko's confidence grew. He faced a kaleidoscope of alien fighters, each one stranger and more powerful than the last. There were the crystalline Vrel, their bodies composed of living energy, the telepathic Zephyrs, who sought to manipulate his mind, and the cybernetically enhanced cyborgs, their bodies a fusion of flesh and steel. Niko met each challenge head-on, his fighting style evolving with every opponent. He incorporated their techniques, adapting and improvising, his human ingenuity proving to be a formidable weapon. "He's not just winning," Anya whispered to Sergei as they watched Niko dismantle a hulking Krogan warrior. "He's learning, growing stronger with every fight." Sergei nodded, a flicker of pride in his eyes. "The kid's got something special, that's for sure." The crowd's initial amusement turned to awe, then to a grudging respect. Even the most die-hard alien supremacists couldn't deny the human skill and tenacity. "He's a freak of nature," one spectator grumbled. "No human should be able to beat a Grondak, let alone a Naja." "Maybe he's not entirely human," another suggested, their voice laced with suspicion. "There's something unnatural about him." The rumors spread like wildfire, whispered conversations in the dark corners of the arena. Some hailed Niko as a hero, a champion of humanity. Others viewed him with suspicion, their fear of the unknown turning to resentment. Meanwhile, the Galactic MMA Council watched from their opulent skyboxes, their expressions growing increasingly grim. Niko's success was a direct challenge to their authority, a threat to the carefully constructed hierarchy they had established. "This human must be stopped," Commander Zarks, the Council's leader, declared. "He is a danger to the order of the galaxy." His advisors nodded in agreement, their faces etched with worry. They had underestimated the human, dismissed him as a mere curiosity. Now they realized their mistake. The underdog had become a threat, and they would do everything in their power to extinguish his flame. The stage was set for a final showdown, a clash between the old order and a new generation of fighters who dared to dream of a different future. Chapter 4. The Final Showdown. The arena throbbed with anticipation, a living, breathing entity hungry for the spectacle about to unfold. A hush fell over the billions watching as the towering figure of Zarx, the reigning champion, entered the ring. His 8 limbs, each tipped with razor-sharp talons, clicked against the metallic floor, a sound that sent shivers down the spines of even the most seasoned fighters. Then a lone figure emerged from the opposing tunnel, a figure dwarfed by the gargantuan Zarx. It was Niko, the human underdog, his eyes burning with a fierce determination. The crowd erupted, a cacophony of cheers and jeers, as the two fighters met in the center of the ring. The bell chimed, signaling the start of the match. Zarx lunged, his massive claws slashing through the air. Niko, however, was a blur of motion, his enhanced reflexes allowing him to anticipate and evade each attack. He danced around the champion, his fists a whirlwind of jabs and hooks, each blow landing with surprising force. Zarx roared in frustration, his attacks growing wilder and more desperate. Niko, however, remained calm, his mind clear and focused. He could feel the underdog strain surging through his veins, empowering him, pushing him beyond his limits. As the fight wore on, the crowd grew silent, their eyes glued to the incredible display of skill and agility. Niko was not just surviving, he was thriving, his every move a testament to the untapped potential of the human spirit. "He's holding his own," Sergey muttered, his voice laced with awe. "I've never seen a human move like that." Anya watched with a mixture of pride and anxiety. She knew the risk Niko was taking, pushing his body and the underdog strain to their absolute limits. But she also knew that he was fighting for something more than just himself. He was fighting for the future of humanity. Zarx, sensing his dominance slipping away, unleashed a furious barrage of blows, each one aimed at ending the fight. Niko, however, seemed to anticipate his every move, his body contorting in ways that defied the laws of physics. Then it happened. In a breathtaking display of power, Niko launched himself into the air, his body twisting and turning, a human whirlwind of raw energy. He landed a devastating kick to Zarx's head, the impact echoing through the arena. The champion stumbled, his eyes glazed over. Niko followed up with a series of lightning-fast strikes, each one aimed at vital points. Zarx roared in pain and anger, but his resistance was futile. With a final bone-jarring blow, Niko sent the champion crashing to the ground, defeated. The arena exploded in cheers as Niko stood over his fallen opponent, his chest heaving, his fists clenched in victory. The underdog had done the impossible, defying the odds and proving that humanity was not to be underestimated. He raised his arms in triumph, his eyes searching the crowd for Anya. When their gazes met, a silent understanding passed between them. They had done it. They had changed the course of history. Chapter 5. A New Hope. The celebration in the Terran sector was short-lived. The Galactic MMA Council's propaganda machine went into overdrive, their slick broadcast painting Niko as a genetically enhanced abomination, a threat to the delicate balance of galactic peace. "This is a farce," Anya spat, throwing a data pad against the wall of their safe house. The screen shattered, showering the room with shards of glass. "They're twisting the narrative, trying to turn him into a villain." Niko, usually stoic, was shaken. "I just wanted to fight, to prove that we're not weaklings." Sergey, his weathered face etched with worry, put a comforting hand on Niko's shoulder. "They fear you, kid. That's why they're doing this." But Niko's victory had ignited a spark that the council couldn't extinguish. Across the galaxy, humans who had long endured the sting of prejudice and discrimination found a newfound sense of pride. Protests erupted on mining colonies in the asteroid belt, on research stations orbiting distant stars, even on Earth itself. "No more!" a young miner shouted, his voice amplified by a makeshift speaker. "We will not be slaves to the genetic elite. We are human and we demand respect." A chorus of voices echoed his words, a wave of defiance that swept across the galaxy. The council tried to suppress the unrest, but their iron grip was slipping. Meanwhile, Anya and Niko were not idle. They reached out to other oppressed species, those who had suffered under the Council's tyranny. The insectoid mantis, their hives decimated by the Council's bioweapons. The aquatic selkies, their oceans polluted by the Council's industrial waste. The cybernetically augmented cyborgs, treated as second-class citizens despite their enhancements. "We are not alone," Anya declared, addressing a gathering of representatives from various species. "The Council's reign of terror ends today. We will stand together, united against their oppression." The meeting hall buzzed with a newfound energy. A mantis warrior, its chitinous exoskeleton gleaming in the low light, stepped forward. "The Phoenix has shown us that even the weakest among us can rise up and challenge the powerful. We stand with you, humans." A Selkie elder, her voice raspy from years of breathing polluted air, nodded in agreement. "We will fight for our home, for our children, for the future of all sentient beings." Even the cyborgs, once loyal to the Council, pledged their support. "We have been treated as tools, as weapons," a hulking cyborg engineer rumbled. "But we are more than that. We are sentient beings, and we deserve to be treated with respect." The alliance was forged, a diverse coalition of species united by their shared desire for freedom and equality. They knew the road ahead would be long and dangerous, but they also knew that they were not alone. They had each other, and they had the Underdog Strain, a symbol of hope in a galaxy teetering on the brink of revolution. Niko looked out at the faces of his newfound allies, a sense of purpose filling him. This was bigger than just winning a tournament. This was about changing the galaxy, about creating a future where all species were valued, regardless of their genetic makeup. The fight was just beginning, but Niko knew that, together, they could overcome any obstacle. The underdog was ready to roar. Chapter 6, The Dawn of a New Galaxy. The hum of the hyperdrive filled the cramped cockpit as Anya plotted a course through the treacherous gravitational field surrounding the Council's headquarters. The massive space station, a technological marvel and symbol of oppression, loomed like a dark predator against the swirling backdrop of the black hole. "We're approaching the rendezvous point," Anya announced, her voice steady despite the tension that crackled in the air. Niko nodded, his knuckles white as he gripped the controls of his fighter. He could feel the adrenaline surging through his veins, a familiar cocktail of fear and excitement. This was it, the final battle that would determine the fate of humanity and countless other oppressed species. "Remember," Anya said, her voice barely a whisper above the roar of the engines. "Our strength lies not in our enhancements, but in our unity. We fight for each other, for a better future." Niko's eyes met hers and a silent understanding passed between them. He knew she was right. They had come too far, sacrificed too much to back down now. The Alliance fleet, a ragtag assembly of human fighters, mantis bombers, Selkie submersibles, and cyborg drones, emerged from hyperspace, their weapon systems primed and ready. The Council's defenses, a network of automated turrets and heavily armed cruisers, responded with a withering hail of laser fire. The battle raged for hours, a chaotic ballet of explosions, evasive maneuvers, and desperate gambits. Ships were lost, lives were sacrificed, but the Alliance pressed on, their determination fueled by a shared vision of a better galaxy. Niko led a squadron of human fighters, their ships darting through the enemy fire like angry hornets. He could feel the Underdog Strain humming within him, enhancing his reflexes and sharpening his senses. He locked onto a Council cruiser, his fingers dancing across the controls as he unleashed a volley of missiles. The cruiser erupted in a fiery explosion, its debris scattering across the battlefield. "That's one for Maya," Niko muttered, a grim satisfaction in his voice. He thought of the young human fighter whose defeat had spurred Anya's research, whose sacrifice had paved the way for this moment. As the battle reached its climax, Niko found himself facing Commander Zarx's flagship, a monstrous vessel bristling with advanced weaponry. Zarx, his face twisted in rage, taunted Niko over the comms. "You think you can win, human? You are nothing but a genetic aberration, a glitch in the system." Niko grinned, his voice crackling over the comms. "I'm not a glitch, Zarx. I'm the evolution you never saw coming." He engaged Zarx's flagship, dodging its energy beams and launching a daring attack on its vulnerable reactor core. The ensuing explosion was a blinding flash of light, followed by a wave of heat that washed over Niko's fighter. When the smoke cleared, the Council's flagship was a smoldering wreck. Niko, battered but alive, emerged from the debris field, a symbol of hope against all odds. Across the galaxy, humans cheered, their voices echoing through the void. The Council's reign of terror was over, a new dawn breaking for humanity and all oppressed species. Niko returned to Earth a hero, his name whispered in hushed tones of reverence. But he knew that his work was far from over. The galaxy was still a dangerous place, and there were many challenges ahead. He looked out at the stars, a sense of purpose filling him. He was no longer just a fighter. He was a leader, a beacon of hope for a new generation. The underdog had risen and the galaxy would never be the same.